Hello guys, welcome back to this channel. So today I'm going to show you how my grandma taught me how to make kale, and if you guys are ready, we are going to get started. This vegetables right here, this is kale, and I have about 2 batches of kale, and I washed them already, and we are going to get started in cutting them. So I'm going to show you guys how, my grandma cooks her kale, the way she told me how to make kale, and it's also Zambian style. So if you guys are ready, we are going to get started. So right over this part, guys, we are going to go ahead and start chopping our vegetables. The way we cut our vegetables is a little different from the way Americans chop their vegetables. And I noticed that, when Americans are chopping other vegetables like kale or collard greens, it's always kind of like in bigger chunks. But in our culture, in African culture, we only cut our vegetables into smaller chunks because it cooks better and it tastes better. So you're going to try your best to cut them into smaller pieces, or you can just cut however you want to cut into bigger pieces. But in my family, we always chop our vegetables a little smaller, and as you guys can see, this is like really fine chopped. But however you guys want to chop is also good. So this is my last batch over here, and I'm gonna do the same thing, cut into small pieces like that. So my next ingredient is cutting a whole tomato and a half an onion. So I'm going to start with onions. So now that we're done, we are going to get started with our vegetables. So to get started with this recipe, my grandma always says boil some water on the side and then add it into the kale. And I'm gonna go ahead and add the water. So after adding the water into the kale, you want to make sure that your vegetables are submerged in the water, and of course your stove has to be on medium high. So to make these vegetables grandma friendly, I am going to add just a 4th teaspoon of baking powder. So this baking powder is going to make the vegetables more softer and grandma friendly. My additional ingredient is going to be the Himalayan salts, and I'm just going to put a 4th teaspoon, not too much, just a little bit, and I'm going to grind it in there. And continue submerging it into the water. The next ingredient that my grandma puts in the vegetables, she adds a little bit of oil, and I'm going to put 1 teaspoon of oil. Now I don't know why she puts oil, so I don't know, but I just do what she does. And just mix it up and let it come to a boil for about 10 minutes, and we'll be right back. So while we're waiting for our vegetables to cook, I'm gonna go ahead and start sauteing my tomatoes and my onions. So I'm adding 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And then I'm adding 1 teaspoon of sesame oil. So I'm gonna heat my pan on medium high, and we're just going to move the oil around this pan. And we're gonna let it hit, and then we're gonna add our tomatoes and our onions. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my ingredients. Tomatoes and a few onions as usual. So you want to continue just stir frying your tomatoes until they become paste-like. So now that our timer is up, we are just going to go ahead and let our vegetables sit for a little bit. I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to add a lid on it. And we're just going to let it sit. So after making sure that your tomatoes are a paste-like, you are going to go ahead and add some tomato paste. I'm adding a whole tablespoon of tomato paste. So right over here, our tomatoes are ready, and as you guys can see, it's like a paste like. That means you can go ahead and start adding everything into one combination to make the kale that you want. So I'm going to go ahead and drain these vegetables, and this is the last part. So I'm going to drain this. You don't have to drain a lot, but try to drain as much as you can. I'm not going to show you guys on that part. So your vegetables don't have to be super dry. You make sure that you leave some water. As you guys can see over here, I have a little bit of water in there, but I drained them. So I'm gonna go ahead and add all my ingredients from the pan. So to my pan, I added just a little bit of water to have, every ingredient that I use finish. So I'm going to turn my stove again on medium-low this time, because we don't want our vegetables to become, too yellow. We need our green in there. So I just reduced the heat, and I'm just going to go ahead and mix everything up. Now remember guys, these vegetables are grandma friendly. That means they do not have a lot of salt. So with the salt, I advise you to, put as much as you can, and always taste your food to make sure that it is to your taste. For me, I do not put salt in the food because my grandma does not like a lot of salt, and neither does she like a lot of oil. So I just make everything grandma friendly, and it's more healthier that way, because she's an older woman, and we don't want to make too much cholesterol in our food. So my last ingredient is going to be some onions, and this is cooking on medium low just to steam it up with every tomato that we put in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and mix everything up. And I'm going to give it a taste to make sure it's too soft for my grandma to eat it. And it is way too soft for my grandma to eat it. It tastes perfect and good enough for my grandma. So guys, we have reached the end, and you can let it simmer for a few minutes, like maybe 3 minutes, and that's it. But we have reached the end, and this is how my grandma taught me how to make her kale. It is so good and it's so easy and it's so healthy. If you guys like this video, just please give it a thumbs up and show some love, and let me know how you guys felt about this video. And I will see you guys next time on She's Around the Monique. Bye.